Okay.
That is so important, and that is what's been going on in Gulu, Uganda. You see, years ago, I had the opportunity to minister with Hibu Stephen, and he has a passion for his people. We have an amazing time doing ministry together and getting Bibles out and preaching the gospel. So I wanted to check in with him and his fellow friend, Pastor David. So we're going to ask a lot of questions about what is going on in Gulu. And if you're listening to this and you don't know what I'm talking about, look at a map of Uganda. If you look all the way north, before you get to South Sudan, or just before you get into South Sudan, it went through a harsh time where young kids were being taken from their families and forced to kill their parents. This is the Lord's Resistance Army that did this, and they destroyed villages and towns and killing lots of people, but also taking out all the livestock, burning buildings. And so Gulu was devastated for a number of years. And now we want to find out the spiritual condition and find out what we can do as Christians to pray and possibly even serve. So we'll start with David. David, can you tell us a little bit about the situation now in Gulu?
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for this wonderful time that God has given us. We thank God for the technology that even when we are far away, we are able to still connect and talk and see one another. We bless God for this. Gulu is much better compared to the time you came. The time you came, Gulu was still, the gunshot was still there. People were still go sleep in the streets, go sleep in the hospitals, they sleep in the bus park, they sleep on the veranda, and people sleep in the bush. There were a lot of abduction, there were a lot of, lot of gunshots. But today, gunshots are not there. But the problem has, what is still remaining in people's heart is the wounds. The wounds that was caused by the war, the pain of cutting the limbs, pains of cutting the legs, pains of cutting of the ears, the pains of losing the dear ones, a child abducted, died in the bush, never came back. So those are the things that our people are battling with it. Another question that our people ask is, how do I forgive? So our people struggle a lot with the issue of forgiveness. How do I forgive this person who took away my child? Sometimes because of some reasons, the person comes back home from the LRA and they are there in the community. So one of the things that our people struggle with them is the issue of unforgiveness. That is seriously there. And the gunshot might not be there, but also people have trauma. You know, the trauma of being, hearing about the news of death, all these other things. So people have trauma that we are, as a church is working so hard to make sure, how do they cope up from the traumatic life that they have been in? And seeing your parent being killed, being chopped by knife, by panga and all those things. So that trauma is the one the community and the land is still going through. And that is what we are working out. But also another thing is that people also struggle with identity. You know, being in the camp and being in the war for over 20 years, many generations, many children were born from within the camp that do not have a clear identity in life. So people struggle with identity issues, identity crisis a lot, and that is what's happening. When you come to the church has grown during the war because it was a time where everybody was compact in one place and people were able to hear the gospel. Now people went back to their villages, to their community. Small churches have been planted. There are small churches that have been planting. We are continuing planting the churches. But as the saying goes, the churches in Africa, like in Gulu, they are 1,000 miles wide, but an inch deep. So we have churches there, but their visibility and their impact as far as teaching of the word, doing discipleship is concerned, that is where the need is. The need is to do discipleship. The need is to raise leaders, to train leaders to make sure they are mature to do the working of God. But also another thing that I see that God is opening up door is an opportunity to preach the gospel. Our land is very open. The heart of our people is very open for the gospel. Anytime you say you want to do the gospel, you see the massive coming together of the church in unity, in oneness, do mobilization, do planning, and also do whatever they can do so that the gospel is preached. So our hearts and the heart of our people are so open for the gospel. And many things have improved and changed, and we thank God that God is working out things so much. And we bless God for putting in your heart for our people. Thank you so much for God putting in your heart our people of Gulu, people of Choliland, people of Northern Uganda, and people of Uganda and Africa at large. So briefly, I think that is what I can say for now. Otherwise, thank you so much. We actually, one of the things is we are also engaged in planting churches. That is a state. The many ministries are involved in planting churches in different communities. Yes.
Well, Habu, what has been the biggest changes since the Lord's Resistance Army has left?
Okay, thank you very much, Christian.
What's been the biggest successes, and what's that needs to be worked on?
Yes. Apparently, actually, after the war, we have had actually so many improvements and so many changes. And apparently, right now, if I am to bring it so clear, I don't know if you're hearing me. Are you guys hearing me?
Yes, we're hearing you just fine.
Awesome. Via actually the infrastructure, you remember actually we had the war and we had bomb blast and all this and that. Huts were being burned, and nobody could go to tilt the garden, and so it's different today. Today, Gulu city, Gulu has already been declared a city among the few cities that were newly created, and the infrastructure has improved. People's life, the economy is building up, and people are back to their locality in the villages. And so when my brother was speaking about the tremendous change, I thought that would be actually something that I should add. And even today, when we see already the climate, the spiritual climate, we see that yes, the church is here, and the church is doing actually, God is doing a tremendous thing through the church as well. But as my brother said, now the majority of the people have gone back to the village, and it would really be of great help if we can also still follow them to the village. Today, the people who live within the city, I mean, they have heard the gospel, and their need is way different from the need of the people in the village now, when you see. But still, all the same, when you look at actually the other aspect of counseling and maybe trauma counseling, that cuts across. That is still a need actually in the church, whereby we need, the Barnabas people to come in and to help restore. Even the church leaders today, we are kind of like struggling. So many people are already in their burnout state because for a long time that we have been living in the IDP camp, the mentality of the people then in the camp was a little bit tricky. Maybe if I say tricky, I don't know how it may sound, but we were trained already in the IDP camp that everything we have to depend on the handouts that would be, that would then come through the World Vision, through World Food Program, and so many other NGOs that were here. So today, we have been battling with that mentality a lot in the church. And so, my brother Christian, it's the need has changed. Now, today, the need in the church is, like in the city, is different from actually what you can go back in the village and find out. In the village, you may find the need of water, education, maybe shelters, or maybe church infrastructure and any other thing, you know, or maybe the livelihood or improving actually on people's income. There's, but then in the city, it's a different thing. So my brother can testify to that, but David lives actually
Yeah.
in the city as well. But for me, I'm always in deep in the village, and so I am so excited actually about this great meeting. Otherwise, share more climate of the city, since actually is a grower and is actually a pioneer actually within the National Fellowship of Bonders organization, which helps actually restructure churches in Northern Uganda.
Pastor David, you were talking earlier about discipleship. What has been the biggest success in growing discipleship amongst the small village pastors, and what has been the biggest struggle getting discipleship to these pastors and to people in the villages?
Well, as Pastor Stephen has said, I think me and him, we ran a program called the Village Pastors and Church Leaders Discipleship Program, a training program. Now, the success is that the pastors in the villages, their hearts, they receive because they want it and they are not able to get it. They're not able to get it. So when you come to them, like you have brought hot cake to them, and we have seen a lot of them being transformed because their mind is still open. Their mind is not diluted by some of the gospel, either like prosperity gospel or something like that. And that has been a success because we do consistent program with them. Like every week, you do about 3 days, every week in a month, something like that. And it has been helping more. So there are things we do with Pastor Stephen, and it has been helpful. And then also, there are many communities, as he said. We used to be in one location. Now community has become too large and too wide. And sometimes getting to them, yes. So there are many communities. Now, the challenge is also that not so many people want to go to the village. That is where the challenge comes in. Not everybody want to go to the village because it's hard to reach. There are places where there are no clear roads. There are places where the vehicle do not reach, and there are no good bridges. So many people do not go there. And also, when you get there, probably somebody need to know the interpretation of those words because many of them speak local languages. And some of them do not know how to read. Some of them don't know how to write. And so when somebody gets there, you need to probably master something and then be able to speak it in a way that they are able to understand it well. So because of that, many people fear going to the villages because many of them have not gone to school so well, but they have congregation, they have churches, they are pastoring. Some churches are under the tree, some churches in the shade, some churches in the classrooms, some churches have a grass-type building, but they are congregation members. So I think those are the things I would say.
So if you had a mission team from the States or from England or from Kampala, would that be the main need to go into the villages?
I think that we can schedule a program. We do mega event in the city. That's what I would think. We can do mega event in the city. But also, there would be also another time to reach one or two villages to have some time with them. I think that would be a great thing to do.
Yes. Let me try to put to it's already 7:38.
Yeah, it is that.
It's amazing how technology has improved, but still has its struggles. But what has brought you the most joy this past year in ministry?
I think because I love mission work. I do small crusades here and there. One of the things that has brought me joy in the ministry is when souls come to Jesus. Is when souls come to Jesus. That's where my joy is, but also as they grow in Him. They come to Him and they grow in Him. That has been my joy. I love to do mission work. I love to do small pastors training and child leaders training. I also love to do discipleship. So that has been my joy, seeing people come to the knowledge of Jesus as I do crusades, but also seeing the people grow in the knowledge and the words of the Lord. And that has been my joy. But also seeing people getting happy, even when they are in a hard life. Here, you see smile on them, you see hope in them, you see they move forward in all those things. So that gives me joy. Yeah, that gives me joy. So, and that's what I thank God for as a pastor, standing before the congregation member where you know they literally have little to eat, they literally do not have a good place they sleep in, but you see the joy of the Lord in their faces. So that encouraged me also. But also as I go to preach the gospel to different places, looking at the soul coming to Jesus, looking at people growing in the Lord, as I get to the fellow pastor, encouraging them, some of them who want to give up, some of them who want to surrender, but you seeing them getting back on track to serve God again. That gives me joy.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for being a part of this. I hope sometime soon God will allow me to be back with you guys. I love that God has equipped you to be able to take on your community and share the gospel and disciple. And my prayer is that you'll be able to disciple more and more people, and then they will disciple more and more people. So to God be the glory. Thanks for being a part of this.
Thank you so much.